So we're here at Autonomy again, here with Anders Wall from Green Mobility. We've already done one panel today. We're doing another one later, which is fun.
Very fun.
We're on day 2. So just get your thoughts on the event so far. Any key themes, topics that you've found super interesting?
Yeah. Well, I think as always, it's super interesting to be here at Autonomy because they are able to gather the majority of the shared mobility industry across Europe and even beyond Europe. For me personally, it's always great to interact with everyone that I know, but also see all the new trends and have the conversations on where is the industry taking us and who's doing and what and so on. So it's good. I also see some new stuff around. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it does seem to be a really good crowd, a mixed crowd. It's our first time at this event, which is super interesting. I think one of the things that came up a lot on the panel is talking about kind of some of the move in the different players in shared mobility. I know that was one of the things that we both spoke about with that. So how are you kind of seeing that evolving in Europe, particularly with the shared mobility players? You're from a kind of more of the startup side, but you're seeing bigger companies coming in and out. How are you kind of seeing that shaping?
Well, I think we've definitely seen a shift, and it's gone from having maybe sort of two major types of players that we had the OEMs who were all in a few years ago, and then alongside them a lot of smaller operators, entrepreneurs like ourselves. And then over the past years, it's become a bit more sort of fragmented because other operators in the industry want a piece of it. Charging companies are sort of wedging themselves in, which seems very natural. Leasing companies as well. They've seen a big business in this as well. Rental companies, because ultimately, shared car will be a threat to the rental company. And vice versa. So I think we will see this battle for the in-between. Not necessarily a month rental, but a few days rental. So there's movement there as well. And I would say then we see actually the OEMs have some push back a little bit. We've seen BMW and Mercedes going out of shared shared cars. And others, Volkswagen as well withdrew. So OEM is I think they've had a struggle finding how to operate this. And it is very much about operating as a service, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the operating is a lot more difficult for a lot of the shared services. I mean, even if you're getting into things like subscription, obviously like car sharing is super complex, but even getting something that's like, if you're an OEM, well, firstly, you're not used to actually selling anything because you wholesale the vehicles to dealers. Sure. So even if you are in the selling business, you're selling a car every 2, 3, 4 years. And actually, we talk a lot about when you reduce that transaction cycle, even into a subscription space where someone's having a car maybe for 3 months or 5 months, 6 months, those transactions need to be quicker, the logistics are more complex. And then when you take that down to daily, hourly, type use, it's super complex, which you guys know firsthand. Absolutely. Right? So there's a bit about who's the right people to kind of be fronting it, maybe who's the right people to back it, but then also the right people to operate it. And they may not all necessarily be the same thing, right? So
you can't be everything to everyone. This is like an old saying, right, in marketing or sales that, but it's fully understandable that the OEM wants to control more, and they want to understand where is mobility taking going forward. So as a consumer, we're not just buying a car anymore. We have different uses for it, and we have different options. So if we, as an OEM, if you lose sort of the traditional car sales in the future, where do we need to sell? Where do we need to make our revenues in the future, right? So of course, it makes a lot of sense that they are close to the shared mobility industry in various forms. They're testing out their own services, and for various reasons. But and true, we are a different type of customer because we buy a fleet. But it's used by many more people, so you could even see us as a threat if you're an OEM because we're causing them loss of sales.
Less cars,
and we're bundling it in more rides, right? Per car. So, but luckily they don't see it like that. I think they understand the change that needs to happen. We can definitely be a facilitator. I think we're an important part of that. But it takes much more. We can't do it alone. We are working with cities, with various partners, OEMs as well. Close cooperation with OEMs. and we need to have that. So I think that the change in sort of who are the main players will continue, but it's also clear there's been a consolidation in the past few years due to economics, of course, but also due to the fact that this is not easy to operate. We saw, like maybe 5 years ago, many more shared car operators or micromobility operators, and it has a high cost. And if you're not generating growth, you're going to be out of business.
Because so this economies of scale and
it's very much of scale. This is intensely work every day. It costs a lot of man hours because you have kick scooters, bicycles, cars that need serviced, and it's not as easy. I would like it to be. This is pure operation.
And then the collaboration thing's really interesting. I've often thought about it kind of moving out of automotive into mobility. The two things are combined, but moving out of traditional auto into mobility, that it feels like it's a space where there is better collaboration. I think because there has to be, right? Talking to some of the bigger car share operators, the Europe car guys, the other day, and they were saying about their competitor is car ownership, not the other car sharing companies. It's interesting to start to think like that, because actually the automotive industry itself, in my experience, is super competitive, super walled between no collaboration, unless it's super high level, sharing some parts and other bits, but operationally no sharing. So definitely a thing where it's more collaboration is required, I think, across the board.
We need to, because otherwise we're not going to move fast enough. We're not going to see the change that is actually needed. We can fight each other, but we're not going to really solve anything, right? And we've seen it with shared mobility that, yes, of course, Tech Share now, they're a competitor of ours. But we've always kept sort of good relations. I hope they will say the same. But the reality is that you need more players in the market as well to make that change. We can't do it just one company. It involves many more companies, also the OEMs, because we need their support.
Absolutely. And even if they're not operating, they can be collaborating, connecting, supplying cars into all of those things.
I mean, to several OEMs, I've pitched, look, just provide me with a car, and you can flip it every year to get the newest model. I'll give you all the branding you need, because we'll have X number of cars driving around, and you take them back. You do all the financing. I don't care about that. You own the car. They don't want to do that, because then they're not selling cars anymore.
Exactly. So it does compete a little bit with the current model.
It does. So there's, I think, continuously there's a need to sort of see things in a new light, be innovative, and be ready to challenge your own business models for us, but also for a lot of others in the market.
It's super fascinating to see how it pans out. We'll discuss this more on our panel later as well. But Anders, thanks for making the time. Again, I was feeling like we're having lots of good discussions this event. And we'll speak to you soon on the podcast, hopefully.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.